Casemiro, the £70 million midfielder purchased from Real Madrid about 2 years ago, is possibly on his way out of Manchester United. So who is the potential replacement, and what characteristics is Ruben Amorim looking for a replacement to fit in his system? So what is the latest on Casemiro? So according to two Saudi Arabian journalists, Sport underscore Jazeera and Hamad 1717, Casemiro has been linked to the Saudi club Al Nassr, where he potentially rejoins his former Real Madrid teammate Cristiano Ronaldo. They say the negotiations are at advanced stage and they expect to hear this news soon. So this is actually great news for Manchester United, because not only is Manchester United trying to get rid of this player, not because he's not good, he is good, but the thing is he's quite old, he's in his 30s now, he's lost his legs. So Manchester United would also like to recoup some of the £70 million they paid Real Madrid to get his services, and that was only about 2 years ago. So to potentially get his wages off the book and get a decent transfer fee, this is great news for Manchester United. Now, is this news true or not? That remains to be seen. We still haven't heard from some of the big names in the business like Fabrizio, David Ornstein and Ben Jacobs, but hopefully we should hear soon. We know that Manchester United is waiting for the end of June and the beginning of July to get more outgoings and then incomings in, because it helps from the PSI issue. So we should hear about this around that time, so in about 2 weeks or so. I think this is great news for Casemiro, because he is looking to get into the Brazil team for the World Cup, which is next summer. If he decides to stay at Manchester United, there is a chance that he won't get a lot of playing time, even though he has performed well towards the latter stages of last season. Before we continue, please like and subscribe, as it helps other people find this content. Thank you so much. So one of the potential replacements for Casemiro is a 25-year-old midfielder from Colombia named Rios. If the name sounds familiar, he was also linked to Manchester United about a year ago as a potential replacement. At that time, he was valued at about £20 million because he was just an upcoming midfielder. But after having a great Copa America, his value skyrocketed to about €100 million. Now, obviously, Manchester United cannot do a deal involving such a high amount, so they obviously have been monitoring him throughout the year, and this was the year when they would potentially go back to him, because they're losing a player in Christian Eriksen who has left Manchester United on a free, and now with the news that Casemiro is leaving on a potential transfer to Saudi Arabia, the midfield positions is severely lacking in bodies. You have Bruno Fernandes, who's returning to Manchester United. You have Toby Collier, a young and inexperienced player who can help in certain situations. And then last year's £50 million signing of Manuel Ugarte. And I think, yes, you have also Kobe Mainoo, but the question is, what position is he best suited for under a Ruben Amorim team? So Manchester United desperately need a midfielder, and this is one midfielder that they have been seriously considering. So just let's look at his stats from last summer. He actually had a great Copa America. So he was among the top performers. Among the top performers in the midfielder sections, both in his league and in the tournament. In the league, he finished second with Palmeiras, and in the tournament, he finished as a runner-up with Colombia. Now, obviously, just looking at stats, they tell you a different story than what you see with your eyes. I just happened to watch the match between Palmeiras and Inter Miami in the Club World Cup, which happened just a few hours ago. And I hate to use that match as a barometer of how good a player is, because it's not good to decide on just based on one game. but it wasn't a good game for Richard Rios. First of all, it wasn't a good game for Palmeiras because Palmeiras had kept 9 clean sheets in their last 12 games. But this game, they drew 2-2. Actually, they were losing 2-0. And because of a few heroics of some of his teammates, they were able to claw back a 2-0 deficit and finish the game at 2-2. Now, what did I see of him as a player? As a player, I saw him as sticking within the middle third of the field. He was primarily just in front of the back four. He was their defensive cover, and most of it. And then, so the normal belief is that, oh, he might be used as a pivot then at Manchester United. But I never saw his players or even the keeper using him as an outlet as they passed it out of the back. They would rather use the other midfielder and use him mostly as an outlet to get out of tough situations. So he was mostly like a more silky Manuel Ugarte, if I have to say that, one who's running around getting the ball back, but would you give it to him? Would you give him the ball to like take possession and get out of tough situations and then drive the ball forward? Not likely. Most of his passes to his fellow teammates were simple passes. In some cases, he would be given the ball in acres of space where he would just make passes, where he would recycle them either left or right. And those were quite simple passes. So would he be an ideal position at pivot in Manchester United? I don't think so, because you need a player like a Frankie de Jong or a Caicedo who can receive the ball and can be able to withstand pressure and pass it off, or at least drive with the ball. And I didn't see him doing either. He is a tall player, so he was used effectively in the box at corners and set pieces. But regarding his ball playing ability, I didn't see much of him as a player. Would I like to see him at Manchester United? No, because I think Manchester United already has a player in his mold as Manuel Ugarte. So we need a more free-flowing Declan Rice. That's what Declan Rice would be the ideal player, or obviously Frankie de Jong or Sergio Busquets, but they are obviously not available in this market. So I would, as a Manchester United fan, implore Manchester United to keep looking, and because first of all, his price has now come down to this summer at around 40 to 50 million pounds. I think we are going down the same path like we did with Manuel Ugarte. I think we should steer clear from this position. First of all, he is playing in Brazil, which has a good league, and Palmeiras is doing well. But again, you are taking a chance, just like we took a chance with Anthony, though he came from Netherlands, and it would be hard for him to adjust in the Premier League. It's unknown at this point of time how he would be able to manage himself with the other mainly rough and tumble midfielders which we see in this league. I mean, just imagine him against Newcastle, against Bruno Guimaraes and the other Brazilian. I can't remember his name. But yeah, I still think he's young. He is 25 years old, but he hasn't played much football. He was actually a futsal player for a lot of his growing period, and then he went to Flamengo. He was released. Then he was picked up by Palmeiras, and he's just about getting good, but definitely not worth 40 to 50 million pounds. Maybe 10, 15 million pounds, you can see how he is, but I doubt he's going to go for that amount. But yeah, I would stay clear for him. But let's see what his manager has to say. So Colombia's national team coach Nestor Lorenzo had said that Richard was instrumental in our Copa America run. His presence in midfield gave us stability and allowed us to transition quickly from defense to attack. So the thing about Colombia and Palmeiras, if I remember correctly, is they had a three-man midfield. So if in a three-man midfield, yeah, you can kind of hide without having the ball, because you're mostly used as a cover, as a defensive strongman to go get the ball. But if you look at his highlights show him making quick moves with the ball, getting out of tight spots. But I don't know, this game today just scared me. So I just don't think it's worth the investment. Although it looks like we are interested in it, but it still hasn't come from the main sources that we are really in for him. So this is also what the manager has to say. He displayed good agility, skill, and was comfortable dribbling and progressing the ball in the middle of the pitch. Rios also has great vision and a good range of passing to find his teammates from deep areas. This versatility allows him to adapt to various midfield roles, making him a valuable asset. I don't know. I saw Inter Miami going through the midfield quite capably, and also there were times when Richard Rios was matched up with Lionel Messi, and I understand that's not a great matchup for any player, but he was quite easily skinned, and Messi was able to get his pass off or even shots off. So I just don't see it. But maybe it's just a one game sample, and maybe he had other good games and today was not his day. Hopefully Manchester United really consider other options, possibly in the Premier League, even though, or maybe in the Championship. We should really consider Championship, because that's a strong league, and on in comparison to some of the other main leagues from other countries. So who knows what Manchester United is going to do, but hopefully we get the Casemiro deal done, because I see him as a good player, but I just don't think he has the legs to play a full 38 game season in the Premier League. Now Richard Rios, is he worth it? Not for the price, but if you can get him for cheaper, you can possibly get. He's like a Sekou Kone right now. Although we got Sekou Kone for much cheaper, we're still building up in the reserves. So is he comfortable doing that? Probably not. He's already 25, so he's probably coming in to at least start or at least be on the bench, and he's not going to want to play in the reserve. So I think this is possibly a no-go in under any circumstances. So hopefully Manchester United seriously consider it and keep looking, and this possibly is a position which has to be which has to be replaced, because we just are losing bodies over there, potentially two bodies, and not getting anybody in. That would be a scary situation. So hopefully it gets done, and hopefully it's done before pre-season. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, as it helps other people find this content. And if you have any comments, please leave them down in the comment box. Thank you so much.